Hey guys, it's me, Melody, with Realty Executives Main Street, and boy, are you in for a treat today. I am talking with Chan Patrick today. He is what I would call one of my homeboys. We went to two graduates of McMinn County High School. We graduated from Tennessee Wesleyan College, and now here we are in real estate and lending world. And so we wanted to take some time today to hopefully help you if you're a first-time home buyer, or if you haven't done this in a few years. If you're a seasoned home buyer but it's been 20 years or something, a lot of things have changed then, or you might have forgotten the process. So but just kind of doing an overview today of many of the things that have changed or that are new, if you are wanting to purchase a home. So Chan, thank you so much for doing this with me, and showing all of our homies wherever they are. If they're even in another state, still you're our homie. Okay, so it's all good. So what I see is I'm out in the field and I have people call me, they'll see a sign or whatever, and they'll say, I want to go look at the house. And my first word is, have you talked to a lender?
Right.
And 98% of the time they have not. And so that's when I'm going to refer them to you, or, give them my lender list. And so what is the criteria for someone to become pre-qualified, and why is that important?
Well, it's really important because they can go in with a letter stating that they already have the backing to get the house and to wait to go to find a lender. It takes a lot of the footwork to get pre-qualified or pre-authorized in our market, which we're in secondary. I'm in secondary market, so what I do is I have two investors in our company, and it's pretty basic: driver's license, 2 years of tax returns, including W-2s, 30 days pay stub, 60 days of bank statements. And one important thing that people always forget to send is your driver's license. If I don't know, I mean, this could be someone I don't know, it could be a fake person. We always have to have that. And then they can go online and do an application, or talk to me, do an application, or I can meet them, do an application. We go through, and then at that point, we check and see what their credit score is, see what their debt to income, or DTI as we call it, falls in. And then we would run it through our system, see exactly where their credit score would lie. And then we would go through an underwriting process, usually Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, to figure out exactly, make sure they're completely qualified. There's a lot more to it, but that's the core of it. With different types of loans, there are different criteria, but for the basics, just to get the application going to refile, you would need all that first.
Okay, that's good to know, because I think sometimes people forget or even don't even know that there is more than one type of loan out there. So it's not a, one fits all. A lot of it does depend on the criteria you just said. A lot of it depends on how much they want to put down. And so, but you do have to get the ball in gear. And I will say that I know that I've worked with people before who thought their budget was one thing, and then after they get pre-qualified, they find out it's another, whether that's
Right.
higher or lower or whatever. But so that's very, very important to do as the first step.
Yeah.
And I know, each situation varies, but is there kind of an ideal credit score or a range that is usually, I don't want to say better, that's not the right word, but
Right.
is
More
more apt to
attractive.
get qualified? Yes.
Okay. With our secondary investors, usually around 620 is kind
Okay.
of where we're kind of at, trying to get in there. Other factors could play into as well too, but that's a pretty good little jumping off point.
About how long, like if I put in my application, let's say tomorrow,
Mhm.
about how long does it take me to, if I'm a client, to get pre-qualified?
If I have all the necessary documents I need, and and they're just trying to go out and get pre-authorized, they don't have actual house they have a contract on yet, we could do it within several hours. Run through and kind of see exactly where they're at on it, as long as I have all the pieces. Now, that's for a very easy W-2 earner that has everything right there. When you start getting into self-employed, business owner, then it gets a lot more polluted on that, but it could be done as well.
And then once they are pre-qualified, you said, they would have a letter that would go with the offer they're making on the home. About how long is that good for? Does it have like an expiration date or?
Really depends. I think it's usually between 30 to 60 days.
Okay, so a month or two. So it's not something you would have to get done every week.
No, and one thing too, I was gonna say too on the items, one thing that the clients will understand too, when I say 60 days bank statements and 30 days, well, they may send everything, then now, might be 6 days past on the road, and we have to ask for that items again. That to be current 30 days, current 60 days. So they don't understand that they have to keep those current each time.
I gotcha. So, okay, yeah, actually, I think I had another client with a similar issue like that. They had the previous month, but it has to almost be like from yesterday to the
Right.
past 30 days. Okay,
Yes.
perfect. And then do I have to put 20% down to qualify for a loan?
It depends on the type of loan. USDA is different. It's a lot less. FHA is a lot less. Conventional is what you're mainly speaking of. That's the 20%. Well, not 20% down. It's actually only loaning up to 80% of the value. So that's where that 20% comes in at. So there's different ones, usually between 3 to 3.5% down, but there's different caveats to that too. So it's
So
one of
it's
those
just
things.
it's better to just get pre-qualified and then figure out how much I need to put down and what type
Right.
of loan fits my profile. Okay, perfect. And so once I pre-qualify for a loan, I find a house, I put in an offer, it gets accepted, then what?
We would have to get a contract showing that, yes, it's been accepted. We would go through like that. Everything's already still the same. Like I said before, everything is still within the date. Then we would go on what's called the for documentation. We'd go through, they'd sign it, that they will proceed with it. We would have to get a credit card to get an appraisal. Most houses have to get appraisals. I've not seen ones that's had an appraisal waiver, but most of them have to get appraised. And then we order a title search, make sure all the documentation is still good, send it up to our lenders. And they may come back and say, well, we need this extra document, or we need this extra form. Um, After that point, usually the longest time for right now to wait for is probably the appraisers. They're really backed up right now. They want to do the refinancing. So you're looking within maybe a month to 6 weeks because of the waiting point for that. Title search sometimes takes a week or two to come back too. So all those factors in, there's kind of, it's a waiting game to get all the pieces together.
And I'm going to add to that because I feel like a lot of times at the beginning of the process, they're like, well, I haven't heard from my lender. But that's kind of where the realtor is kind of taking charge. When you're looking for the house and you want to do the stipulations and the
Right.
inspections and stuff. And then once the offer is accepted, the realtor kind of steps back. And that's where the lender comes in. That's where Chan is kind of going to be at you saying, I need this or this or
Right.
this, and then toward the end we kind of come together. And
Right.
so I think it's not like I'm ignoring you while you're in middle of the underwriting process and all of that. It's just that my part is not as big as Chan's is, and vice versa. His part is not as big when we're looking for houses.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's why it is a partnership. And I think, I have had people like, I haven't even heard from my lender. And I'm like, well, you're not going, you're pre-qualified. So you don't need to talk to them until we,
Right.
put an offer on a house. So, and so that leads to my next question is once I have that offer on the house, what will you need from me as the lender?
Like so long as I have the agreement that's been accepted, and that's when I can go into and get everything together for the documentation, for the documents that we get, and then we get everything sent up, and just we have to wait for the lenders so I can say we need this, we need that, and then when it's all said and done, and we get um, able to close on the loan, then we can meet with you at the title company and sign the documents, and then see if there's any money due, money coming back, etc. And then after that, you're a homeowner.
Perfect. Yes, that's great to know. And so you said this was my next question: is how long does the whole home mortgage process take? And I guess if you included the pre-qualifying all
Mhm.
the way up to closing, you were saying earlier roughly 4 to 6 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
About right now. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Of course. Now that's with a very easy W-2 here it all. when you start getting the other ones, it's take a little more time too.
Yes, yes. And we will, when Chan and I do future videos, as I said, we are going to spend some time on specific loans, and we can get into more specifics at that time. Are there any types of properties that a home mortgage will not qualify for?
In my world, and like I said, I'm in secondary market investors. We do not do mobile homes and we do not do modular homes. Most of ours, too, along with large tracts of land, we don't do with the home. We have to do a secondary or a second loan with it. Now, I'll say it with my company. Now, there are other companies may vary on those, but that's the world that I live in right now.
Okay, and would you be so kind as to tell us where you are located at, and tell us a little bit about your bank?
Sure, I'm at First Volunteer Bank in Etowah. We're a full service bank. Been in this location, I think, about 10 years. I've worked for the company for about 6 months. But we do everything like I said, in my world, is secondary market with lending for homes, refinances. The rest of the team here does everything else you'd expect a bank to do: open and close accounts, HELOCs, IRAs, you name it, we can do it.
So, do I have to bank with your bank to get a loan with you guys?
Absolutely not. We'd love for you to, but and you know, a lot of people, they think I can only get a loan or a bank. Not at all, because one of the things that we'll have to get is the bank statement. So of course, if you're somewhere else, we have to bring it to us. If you bank here, it's a little easier, but no, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception, Chan, is a lot of people say, well, I can't use another bank. I have to use my bank, which is fine. You can,
Right.
but you can also shop around. It doesn't mean any disloyalty or anything. So,
Right.
even if you're from out of state and, you haven't even gotten acquainted with a bank here yet, this would be a great opportunity. Call Chan. I've got his information down below. Give him a call, talk to him about it. But you could still apply for a loan with Chan at First Volunteer. And then, when you get here, if you want to use them, that'd be awesome.
If it
But
would.
if you want to find a different bank, that's okay too. But you could still do the loan through this bank. You don't have to necessarily be a member of the bank to apply for a loan. Yeah, perfect. Chan, is there anything else that I have forgotten that maybe you are getting asked a lot that might be helpful for first time homebuyers or out of state homebuyers?
Um, One thing too, especially right now, may not be on the first time home buyers, but refinancing. Refinancing is very hot right now. If you have your own home right now, look at your interest rate, because 3 or 4 years ago, if you're at 5, 6%, 3 or 4 years ago, that was great. Ours now could be, twos, threes, so it's a lot lower, depending on it. And if you have anything you're needing to do the home, 'cause a lot of people now are trying to sell their homes as well too, because the market's so hot. You can do the updates on the home, sell and still come out pretty, fat with cash. So definitely look into your rate and see what you're at right now. If not, I'll be happy to help you.
Yeah, and that's a good point because, even in the early 2000s, even mid 2000s, or the teens, I should say, of 2000s, that's right. Those interest rates were at 5%, and now those are almost in half. So, yeah, you still have to usually do closing costs, but even with that, as you said, you're making your wallet fat,
A
which
lot
is
more too.
great.
Another thing too, people you mentioned earlier, if they haven't done this in a long time, they may think back to the early 2000s when everything that caused the housing market. People could go in and say, I want to buy a house. Okay, fine, here, sign here, go buy a house. There you go. It's a lot more stringent. We have to go through and everything has to qualify. Everything has to be proven. So people are afraid that because of the rates being so good, everything will crash again.
Mhm.
It's not going to happen with it. Everything's a lot more built back into it now.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because I get asked that often. This can't last forever. When is it going to crash? And I'm like, I'm not seeing that anytime soon. So,
Rates may go up a little bit, prices may come down, but we're not going to have a crash again.
no, absolutely not. Chan, thank you so much for meeting with me today. And for you out there in YouTube world, as I said, this is the first of many that we have planned. So we hope that you will come by or come back, I should say, and watch some more of us. We are going to do some more specifics about the different loans to be more helpful. And, feel free to reach out to Chan, as again, his information will be at the bottom, or myself. We'll be glad to help you in any way we can. As I said, I know his mama knows my mama. It's all the things. So we're not going to do you wrong. We're going to treat you like
Exactly
you're one
right.
of us. So thanks so much, Chan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.